afternoon, Albemarle High School students. Welcome to the third session of writing the college essay. If you are looking for introductory materials on writing the college essay, then take a look at the previous two videos that I've done for you. This one is session 3, which is going to be on structuring the college essay, and it should be a fairly short one. My name is Ms. Newman, and I'm the Talent Development Resource Teacher here at Albemarle High School. Okay, so let's get started. This is from the Howard University Admissions Office. The essay is about you. Before you start writing your essay, take time to brainstorm people who inspire you, events that have shaped you, and issues that matter to you. Then choose one idea or two connected ideas to write about. So one rule of creative writing is that it's useful for your admissions essay, wherever possible, to show, not tell a story. And so that is sort of my theme today as I take you through structurally how you can approach a college essay or a college admissions essay. How do you go about showing your story and not telling your story? And that basically means, instead of telling us that you're compassionate and determined or, whatever characteristics or values that you're trying to discuss with us and introduce us to, try to recount an event or a conversation that shows us these attributes live. That's the idea of showing us who you are, not just telling us who you are. The other thing I would say before we just talk about some hints for the structure is, be honest with these essays, be reflective with these essays. This is not an Insta story of your perfection. Colleges aren't looking necessarily for perfection. This is a story of reflection, okay? It's a story that gives us some insight into you. Okay, so let's start with the hook, right? All good essays start with a good hook. I'm going to go through 2 different ways that you can hook a reader. These certainly aren't the only ways that you can approach college essay writing and hooks. But I think there are 2 pretty successful ways that a lot of students have begun their college essays. So first, can you drop the reader into the middle of the action, into the middle of the story that you are wanting to tell? Can you tell us about the emotions that you are feeling or describe some of the sensory details of that moment? So take us to the center of the action. Instead of using lines like when I was in 9th grade or when I was at camp over the summer. Try to just drop us straight into a moment. That's a good way to sort of actively hook your reader because you're in the middle of the action. Right? And we see movies do this all the time, like action movies start us in the middle of the action. So you can approach a hook like that. You can approach a hook like a montage. So a montage is trying to piece together different elements of you that you're going to talk about through the story that you're about to share. So in the last session, we talked about your 15 objects. You could choose from among those 15 objects and start your hook paragraph that way through those objects or even object. You could start with your values and your characteristics or whatever it is value-wise or characteristic-wise that this story is going to show about you. And you can sort of throw some of those attributes in the beginning and then let the story build from there. All right, the body, the center of the essay. And this is where you just want to tell the story. I forget which college admissions counselor it was last week on the October 1st college night. But they said, make sure you answer the question. So the story is where you're answering the question that the college essay has presented to you, whatever prompt it is that you are tackling. In that story, you want to be clear, you want to be concise, and you want to get to the point. Okay, you want to let whatever feels real to you shine through. And that was from the James Madison University Office of Admissions from College Night last week. Tips on the body of the essay. Yes, you can use a thesaurus, but you want to choose words that you would actually use in your life. You don't sound any smarter by pulling words from a thesaurus that you wouldn't actually use in conversation. You want to use words that are really sort of viably you. So you can use a thesaurus if you need, different wording for what you're trying to say, but pull words that you would actually use. Don't pull words that you haven't heard of or aren't that familiar with, because we can tell that's not your voice. College admissions counselors can tell that that is not your voice, and that's actually something they spoke of last week. All right, next, it doesn't all need to turn out perfectly. Your story does not have to turn out perfectly like an Instagram story, right? You can show a college admissions counselor that you've got growth in you. You can show that you're not perfect, but you're willing to grow, right? You can, show some of those grittier aspects. And I think those can be incredibly reflective ways of talking about your story. So don't feel like you have to tell a story where it has this sort of, I think last week somebody said a Disney essay, right? It doesn't have to have a Disney sort of ending that it all ends perfectly in the end. It can show growth. It can show reflection. All right, finally, and this is very important. A lot of students shortchange this section of the essay, and this needs to be at least a third of your essay, and quite possibly even more. Your story should all be building to the significance that the story had in your life. College admissions counselors often complain that students, tell these great stories, but then don't really talk about the significance that story had to their life. So could you connect it to the values activity that we did in the Jamboard the first week? Could you connect it to an internal shift that you had in terms of your thinking or your mindset, its impact on you, its significance on you? So how did this moment that you've just recounted, that you've just told me, or these moments that you've just told me about, help ready you for the challenges of college, for life to come, for your future? How did this moment inspire you or focus you or broaden your view? Those are some questions that you can consider in the significance section. You don't have to talk about all of them, but I do think that speaking about the significance should, I would say at least a third of your essay and possibly half of your essay should be tied into the significance piece. And finally, a question I get asked by students all the time: do I need a conclusion? No, this is not like a standard 5-paragraph essay. So you don't need like a standard conclusion that recounts everything and summarizes everything that you've said. In fact, I think it's a better idea to tie back into your hook in a creative and witty and heartfelt or meaningful or a you way. You really want to put some time and effort into an awesome last line or couple of lines, a sentence or a word montage or a vision, not a whole paragraph, but like some way that ties back into that hook that you began us with. Okay. So spend some time making sure that your voice is in that last line. Make that last line or last few lines memorable. And it doesn't need to be, in conclusion, blah, 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 because those are boring. And you do not want to end on a boring note. You want to end on a you note, so that a college admissions counselor walks away, really feeling your voice in that last sentence or last couple of sentences. Okay, so thanks. Here's my contact information. I told you this was a short one this week. I hope your college essays are going well. Next week, we'll be talking about revision and feedback, and I'll give you some tips on those as well. And you're welcome to reach out to me if you want to start the brainstorming process, or if you want me to take a look and workshop a college essay with you. I'd love to do that. Okay, nice chatting with you.